has been loud for people in the past. You see their eyes just, holy shit.
I'll give you the sign.
All right, cool.
Sounds fine.
All right, I have to do a super quick intro and then we'll roll. All right. Hello, welcome to 646. My name is Dawson McManus, and thank you so much to Pet Rock Radio for putting this out. We're in the studio today with Chantel Daniels. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks so much for coming. This is cool. You are the first poet that we've had on the show.
Exciting.
So, yeah.
That's very exciting.
You're number one.
I'm like a pioneer.
Yeah. Or a Highlander.
Oh.
I mean, that would actually require you decapitating other poets, but maybe you'd gain their powers.
I haven't met any that I need to do that for yet, but I'm new to poetry, so.
Hey, there you go. But already published.
Yes. I got a little bit of stuff in the game, so that's been really fun and exciting. But
Yeah. When did that go down?
Like poetry in general, or the published stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, long story long?
Yeah, make it long. We've got an hour to fill.
All right, good
Give
to
us
know.
the whole...
I was writing a memoir for many years, and by writing I mean I started it like 3 times, left it on my computer, and then didn't look at it for years. And then during the pandemic, I was like, okay, idiot, you have nothing but time right now. So I said, okay, I'm going to pick it back up and try to work on it. And it turned out that I was just writing really, really short, depressing pieces about my awful childhood. And thought, okay, this is going to do nothing but make everybody sad. And where am I going with this? And I thought, I don't know, I'll try something different. I'll write a poem for each of this, little pieces that I've been doing and see if that makes it a little better, if that can kind of like either bridges the gap between depression and memoir or whatever. And once I started writing the poetry, I thought, I like this so much better than every other piece I've written. So
Okay.
maybe I like poetry. Maybe this is the way to go. Maybe I'll make it just a collection of poetry for my memoir. So it started out being a... Basically, I've moved more than 40 times in my life.
Right.
From the time I was 4 or something until 8 years ago when I moved in with my husband, Sean. And so basically I was writing a piece for each address that I'd ever lived at from the time I was 4 until I was early 30s. And
That's cool.
yeah, so I wanted some sort of hook like that for my memoir. It sounds so presumptuous when I say memoir. Like, I'm 42. Am I ready to write a memoir? I don't know. Anyways.
It's the first half. I mean, if you take the term middle-aged, yes. I guess, which...
Oh, yeah. No, I'm there, apparently.
I'm going to be there in the summer, apparently, so
cheers
to the halfway mark.
Ooh.
I hope it's not halfway. Like, 80 seems a little short.
It does. And
especially with science, how it's moved.
Shouldn't it have pushed the goalpost a little further?
I would think so.
Especially for dudes. Sorry.
Well, I mean, they die younger.
Yeah.
Typically, because they do stupid shit when they're younger.
Oh, well,
and then their bodies eventually just go, ha ha ha. Yeah, remember? That's why we're crapping out now.
As I'm sitting here with my hand wrapped in the thing. And,
Gravity gets everybody, though. That's not...
That's true. Gravity is a mean, mean mistress.
Yeah, that's not for doing something silly. Like when I think I was 12, I thought it was a fun game to tightrope walk the yellow line down the highway.
Oh, yeah, that is a fun game.
No, it's a stupid thing to do. Cars are obviously honking, and people are like, you idiot, get out of the road. You're like... And that's a big part of the reason why guys tend to die earlier.
I think it was just like a 80s and 90s kid thing where you just, for some reason, you were drawn to the middle of the road. Like, do you remember, the middle of the night, you'd lay down on the road for no reason, just to see, and then a car would come in, we don't run. And wow, that was before the internet, I guess, so we didn't have much to do.
Yeah, it's before you had those reels on Instagram of people getting run over, and you're like, oh no, consequence. I didn't, It's different when you have a visual reference of somebody getting smushed. Yeah. And you go, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that could really easily happen.
Maybe kids are getting smarter.
I think we're trading some information for other.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm an idiot. And no one should listen to me about anything except maybe certain parts of music. Okay. That's about it. It's a pretty narrow field.
I've grown and matured, and now I just strap roller skates to my feet and throw myself around skate parks in my middle age. So maybe I shouldn't be listened to either.
So long as you're having fun and doing your best to mitigate CTE.
Yes. Important.
Yeah. I mean, probably have, like, I would have to assume learning how to roller skate when did you were in your 30s when you started skating,
Yeah,
right?
I was 37.
Yeah.
Why not?
So, yeah. I mean, you probably took some gnarly spills.
Oh, yes. I am missing, what's it called? It's not the one that football players always lose in their knee.
The ACL?
It's the PCL, which is the posterior cruciate ligament.
Yep.
And apparently, this is what the surgeon told me, this usually happens when your knees hit the dashboard in a car accident. And I was like, well, I dropped into a bowl at a skate park far too soon for my skill level, and I basically smashed my knees into the ground, concrete ground. So, I mean, car accident, really. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was pretty awful, but...
you know when stories make your butt clench up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, but it was a good one. So I had this surgeon who said to me, there are MMA fighters that do not have this ligament, and they've not had the surgery. We don't think you need surgery. You could probably find somebody in Toronto that will do it, but the recovery is the same. Your range of motion eventually will still be the same. So I didn't do it. I just did physio. And,
nice.
Yeah, kept hurting myself after that. Yeah. In other ways.
Yeah, well, so long as you strengthen the stabilizer muscles around it, those can take care of a lot.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Well, I actually, what, is it your right knee?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
My right knee is also pretty buggered.
Oh, good.
Funny you should bring up MMA. It was from jiu-jitsu.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, which, I'm sorry, I know, I'm saying it again. I blew my knee out a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And actually, it's almost 2 years now. So.
And we don't heal as fast now in our middle age.
No.
Or almost middle age.
Nah, we can call it middle.
You're 40?
I will be in August.
Oh, yeah. You're close. You're almost there. Well, for a dude, in terms of Canadian lifespan, you're middle age now.
Yeah.
If we're mathing.
Yeah. Well, I try to reserve that for music stuff. The rest of the time, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, no. I only use math when it backs up any arguments that I'm going to have with anyone, so...
Something I've started doing, speaking of arguments, that has been really fun, but pisses people off so much, is I immediately just switch to their side. I'm like, you're right, you've convinced me.
Interesting.
And even if they can really easily tell that they haven't convinced me of anything.
That ends it?
Well, what do you say?
I guess you say nothing, really.
You just, like, oh, yeah, you're right, you've convinced me, I'm on your side now. Even if they know that I'm talking shit. They're like, no, you don't. I'm like, no, I do. I believe you. I'm so on your side.
Definitely voted conservative. No, I'm not. For the record. Are we allowed to get political on this?
You can say whatever you want.
Never, ever conservative.
Again, like I said, actually, before we started rolling, you can say anything you want on the show. Mm-hmm. Just if you don't want the internet to hear you say something, don't say it on this one.
I've already told the internet.
Yeah.
My thoughts.
Which is fine.
Never, Polly, ever. I've always wanted to say that out loud because it's just been a hashtag in my life recently. But
all right.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
He's not my type.
As a federal government employee, I'm not allowed to criticize the current government. He's not. So, fair game.
You're not. Why are you not allowed to criticize the
there's like a code of ethics. You're not allowed to criticize the people that employ you. At least in person, like in a public forum. So, online or, on TV. Not that I'm going to be on TV, but...
Sure. That seems weird that you're not allowed to criticize.
No, I know. You'd think in a fair and democratic society I should be able to criticize whoever the fuck I want.
You would think so.
But no.
But,
No.
Yuck.
Let's say it was probably a conservative government that brought that policy in. But I have been employed by them for 16 years, so... And I like the paychecks. I will shut my mouth. Except for, like I said, anything that's not current government is fine.
So
fair game.
Does that mean you're also allowed to criticize past governments?
I think so. I'm not sure, actually. That's never a question that I've ever really thought about.
I've never thought about it
now
either.
I have to, think about that.
Right. I don't know.
Huh. Anyways, I don't know. Somebody Google that and let me know.
Again,
maybe one of your listeners will come and tell us.
Right? It'll be in the comments like, actually, and it'll be all caps.
And I'm probably I'm quoting policy that's probably not even in force anymore. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it still is though.
Yeah.
We have to do ethics and whatever training every couple of years. They require us to do some sort of values and ethics thing, and usually that's part of it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people what you do?
Right now I work for Veterans Affairs. It's been that way for the last 5 years. Started out as a case manager with them, and now I work on the cannabis for medical purposes reimbursement team.
Nice.
Working on policy and working on educational stuff in terms of cannabis and all of that. Even though I don't use it, but I'm a proponent. I believe that there are lots of benefits to it, and obviously we need more research and stuff. But
yeah, sure. And I mean, I think it's, for me, I think cannabis is a lot like almost anything. For some people, awesome.
Yep.
For other people, probably shouldn't touch it.
Yep.
Like, there's some people where if they have a shot of whiskey, they get shark eyes, and then they just want a fist fight, and you're like, oh, you probably shouldn't drink whiskey.
Yeah, probably not.
For me, if I smoke any pot that is any more than like 0.5% THC, it's just a full-blown panic attack for hours.
Yep.
Just white knuckling it. Just, oh no!
I do the. Am I laughing too much?
No.
Am I laughing? Am I not laughing enough? Have we not spoken in like an hour? Am I doing something weird right now? Am I breathing funny? It's just awful.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of get up and go, I'm leaving!
Yep.
People are like, Jesus Christ, all right.
100%.
Yeah. It was funny, actually, in your guys' backyard.
Yeah.
It was in one of those pockets where lockdowns weren't happening, but they were kind of on and off, like an abusive relationship, on again, off again, just sort of nonsense. And I was smoking a joint with a mutual friend. Yeah, it was still legal at the time. And I smoked a joint with a mutual friend, and I got lost in the woods, dude. And it was so scary, and it was cold and alone.
And the wolves were after you?
Yeah. Even though it was the middle of summer and the sun was shining and there were all kinds of friends around.
Yep.
But I'm just panicking, and we're all jamming in the yard.
Right.
And every time a song would end, I would just go, we got to play something else. We got to play something else. We have to please. We need to keep playing. If we stop playing, I'm going to die. And I finally snapped out of it like 2-3 hours later. And I went up to the dude that I smoked the joint with, and I told him about the experience. He's like, oh, me too, man. Let's go back in. I'm like, no! Like, holy shit, I want to go home now. Yeah.
That's funny.
He's a great dude. He's a good friend of both of ours. He has a lovely beard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Very, I don't know how to describe him otherwise.
He's an introspective kind of fella, I think. And I think that's why he enjoys going so deep.
Yeah.
But I wish he'd have told me that it was as strong, that the stuff we were about to smoke was that strong. But also my idea of strong and weak is probably pretty skewed because I'm such a lightweight.
Same.
I can't handle it. So.
Well, I've not heard any funny stories about this, so you clearly kept it to yourself. So good job.
I'm glad, because the whole time I'm just like, it's a running loop of keep it together, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together. And it just, it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a similar issue when I have 2 to 3 drinks.
Okay, there's that little spot.
Yeah, there's that spot where you're like, don't let anybody know you're drunk. Try to be cool, man. Cool. Yeah. And then one more drink and it becomes, fuck it.
I'm cool.
Everything's great. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Speaking of, I just had on the 1st, I just got my 3 years of sobriety.
Hey!
So I'm basically laying out to you how I'm no fun at all anymore. I don't smoke weed, don't drink, but I was one of those people that didn't have it under control, so it was time to do that.
You know what? It's not for everybody. I like the odd glass of... Actually, just this past Friday, the missus and I try not to say their names on the show.
No worries.
So it's not a sexist thing. I'm just...
Just don't call her my woman or something like that, and you'll be fine.
Just me and my bitch.
My old lady.
Yeah, it's like, don't say that. So the missus and I were on a date night, and the first one in months.
Yeah.
And we had some wine with dinner, and I immediately was like, uh-oh. I haven't had a drink in a long time.
That'll hit you.
And I'm starting to get the fuzzies. It's like, oh, okay. And it's probably going to be I'll bet another few months before I have another drink because just
it's nice that you can control it like that.
Well, it's the next day is always so, even if I'm not hungover, I'm so sluggish and I'm already dumb. You know what I mean? And then when you pour post alcohol or post weed dumbness on top, see, there you go, dumbness. That's not even a fucking word.
Sometimes you can use words that aren't words.
Yeah, I guess. But it's not worth it to me to do that regularly because I always just feel so gross. And also, in the summer, actually, oh my God, I haven't told you guys about this. In the fall, sorry. I don't know what time of year this shit happens.
Some recent season.
Yeah.
That happened.
The kid got stung by a shit ton of bees.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and in fact, inside her mouth.
Oh, no.
And I had to scrape the stinger out with a toothbrush, and her head started blowing up.
Oh,
so,
she's allergic.
Well, maybe
maybe it was just too much for such a little tiny person.
Yeah, well, and the thing is when, I didn't know this, but it turns out the first time that you get stung by a bee or have any kind of reaction to something, you're not going to have full-on anaphylaxis because your body doesn't have the antibodies for it.
Right.
So we just have to keep a really close watch. She does have an EpiPen now, all that kind of stuff. But it was one of those moments where like, this is why I have completely abandoned getting fucked up on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because I have serious dad panic all the time. It started with I was freaked out that her mom would go into labor and I'd be too fucked up to drive us to the hospital. And then it got even worse when the kid was born. I was like, oh my God, if I get wasted and something happens, then I'm that piece of shit dad that can't drive to the hospital. Like, that's not happening.
No, exactly.
And then something happened. I was like, vindication.
Yep. 100%.
This is why it's okay to be no fucking fun.
It's true. Yeah. So cheers to no fun.
Cheers to no fun.
We can rescue our babies.
There we go, with our coffee and our water.
Mm-hmm. My babies are old as fuck now, though.
Yeah.
But
that's got to be a bit of a trip, huh?
It is pretty crazy. Like, we have one teenager left, but he's 19.
Oh.
He's hardly ever home now because he's got a girlfriend. So it was weird having Christmas and being like the one waking up early and going, guys, wake up, it's Christmas, Santa came. And like, it was great. It was like, where's my tiny ones? Although, you know, there are different benefits to each age.
Of course.
They're pretty cool kids. So it's been good. It's been a ride. Teenager years were something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delay those as long as you can.
I got about 10 years.
Yeah. You probably a nice comfortable 10 years. Yeah.
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 I hope they're comfortable.
Well, they should be.
We'll see. She's very well behaved.
She seems
so far.
Very lovely.
Yeah. She's a nice kid.
Yeah.
As our current state stands, she's great.
And her parents are awesome, so I'm sure she'll be great.
No, she's pretty lucky. She's got a good mom.
Yeah.
So that makes a big...
Good dad, good mom.
Yeah. When dad's around.
Yeah.
Good. Some days are better than others.
Yeah.
It depends on how tired I am. On the morning after a show, if it's like way out of town...
Yeah.
I'm kind of a lazy dad. It's like,
it happens.
We're going to watch Bluey.
Yeah. That's what Bluey's for.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's for.
My phone is buzzing.
Oh,
Sorry.
I wasn't sure what that was.
I didn't leave it on the table, though.
Yeah, could have been worse. Okay, back to poetry. And so we know how it got started.
Right, that's how it got started. I had never written poetry before then, really. Like, everybody writes poetry when they're, I would say particularly... girls, when they're in their like 13, 14 years, they start writing that angsty, oh, he doesn't love me poetry, or maybe she doesn't love me, whatever. I did that, of course, and have since destroyed every last evidence of that. Thank goodness. The kids will not be pulling that out of my funeral. But yeah, so during the pandemic, I started dabbling, completely uneducated, I don't know anything about poetry. I don't know the classics. I did not I studied criminology in school, not English. So it was brand new to me. And then a friend of mine had been going to the local Peterborough poetry slams for years and had been kind of in that scene and said, you should come. And I was like, cool, yeah, I'll try that. And so went to that one night and just fell head over heels into it, and currently trying to organize an open mic poetry night
cool.
once a month. Yeah. So right now the Peterborough Poetry Slam group, they're a collective that does a monthly slam most of the year, and a slam is where you go and perform poetry for points, and obviously the person with the most points at the end is the winner, but they always say the points don't matter, but it's fun. It's fun, but for some people that are maybe new or they're just not into the competitive nature of it, I thought, what if there was more poetry in Peterborough? And what if it was like an open mic situation? Like we have open mics for musicians all over the place in town. And, once a week at Jethro's and all these different jams. Well, why can't there be a poetry jam? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, instead of a slam, poetry jam.
Right.
There you go.
Jam instead of slam. Oh, I've been looking for a name for it. This is okay. Good
all
talk.
Jam, no slam.
All jam, no slam. So that's kind of where I got started, was with that poetry slam stuff. And I just started out doing the open mic portion. They always have an open mic portion with the slam every month. And after trying not to throw up, I decided to go up and do it. And
from the nerves.
From the nerves, yes.
Understood.
And the nerves are still there now, but I haven't felt like vomiting.
That's good.
Anytime recently in performing, so that was good. But yeah, participated in a few slams, and then I ended up doing through Humber College. They have a postgraduate certificate for creative writing, and you can specifically work in poetry if you want. And they assign you a Canadian author as a mentor. That you write poetry all year long. It's 2 semesters, and you submit it to them. They give you feedback. They also have it for like fiction and nonfiction and different genres of writing. Yeah. So it's a school thing, right? So you do it online, you submit usually through email, that kind of thing. So I did that. And after, I guess, over the pandemic, I finished the collection that was my memoir. And so when I started with the Humber program, it was a second collection. And over the course of 2 semesters, I wrote, I can't remember if it was like 60 poems, but it's like 85 pages worth of poetry.
Oh, wow.
So it's a whole second collection. And since then, I've started a third, probably 20 pages into it now.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm loving it. And the Poetry Slam every month was giving me the opportunity to try stuff out and see if people reacted to it. And got enough good feedback that I was like, okay, I'm not shit. I can carry on, maybe. All right, some people like my stuff, so that's what I've been doing, and now I'm hoping to start my monthly jam. Nice. All jam, no slam.
All jam, no slam. Yeah, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I'm curious because in my opinion, sorry.
Yeah, it's contagious.
That hitched. That was weird. In my opinion, lyrics for music is poetry.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
just
Absolutely.
set to music.
Yes.
I think when I'm writing lyrics, I think about it like putting a puzzle together, kind of. And that's one of the things that makes me the most excited about it. Mm-hmm. What is it for you that I'm also curious about your process, because I've got I have a way that I do things typically, but not always. And what is it that gets you super jazzed? And then also, if you don't mind talking about your process, I think that would be fun.
Yeah. Process. This is exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I don't know if you know that, but since I was
we've talked about
12,
him before.
yeah. I've read everything he's ever written, and more than once. Like The Stand is like we're at 18 or 20 times at this point.
Holy shit! Okay,
and that's the biggest one, right?
Okay.
Like,
it is,
other than Under the Dome. But anyways,
I've read it once, and it was a long time.
The unabridged version or the abridged version?
I don't know. Dude, I read it in high school.
Oh, right.
And I thought it was awesome. I borrowed it from a friend.
Yeah. But there's something he talks about, and I think it might be in the Dark Tower series. It might be in the Drawing of the Three. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Regardless. And he talks about how this one character, Eddie, he discovers that he's got a passion for like carving wood, right? And he said that he sees this shape in like a tree or in like a chunk of wood, and he does everything he can to carve it out, to get it out, as much of it as possible. And for me, I kind of liken that to how my poetry is written. It's like there's either a line or there's an idea that I'm trying to pull out of kind of the ether, or whatever you want to call it. Like, we don't need to romanticize it, but just the idea or this even like a final line that I'm like, this is what I'm building towards, but I'm trying to get this poem out of my like soul. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
As whole as possible. So like carving away at all the purple poetry bullshit that you don't want to include, like not talking about my chest opening up with all the birds of my soul flying. I'm not trying to be cheesy. I'm not trying to do any of that. Of course, I have the tendency to do that sometimes. Everybody does.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But yeah, that's the idea. Usually is either have like something I want to say, or I have a line that I know I want to have in a poem, and I just kind of work towards that. So
right.
Sometimes I do a little research. Sometimes like right now I'm working on my third collection, and it's called, tentatively, Apocalypse Grief Manual. And basically it's like the idea that we've all been through this whole, cataclysmic world event over the last however many years, like this pandemic. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's something that we're all kind of uniquely qualified to talk about our coping with trauma and with, all kinds of things, isolation, all of that, right? And the idea that we can all have these little apocalypses, little personal apocalypti. I don't even know what the plural is for apocalypse, but either way, these little world-changing events that for somebody else maybe they weren't as traumatic, or it wasn't as grief-inducing, or but for you it was, and how you coped and how you got through it. So for me, it's kind of a collection based around that idea that all of these sort of world-changing events have happened to me over my lifetime, but I've gotten through them, and I've coped, and I've dealt with it, and kind of how I got here. Do you know what I mean? From there. So yeah, it's a little how-to manual about how I, I'm not a raving lunatic, just a, quiet
a functioning lunatic.
Functioning lunatic. Yeah. So.
Right on. That's awesome. I would classify myself in a very similar way. Functioning lunatic. Functioning
Perfect.
lunatic. Yeah, it's exactly basically what you just said. You find those things, you go, okay, this is how I'm. Yeah. Yes, this is some crazy bullshit, but this is how I'm going to deal with it. And
maybe you don't even see that until after you're done and you have gotten through it. Oh, okay. So this, and this that I did, that's how I got through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Yeah. And then maybe you look at some other things and you go, that is something to be avoided.
Next time
some bad shit goes down, I should stay away from XYZ because it really exacerbates the issue.
And that was what I discovered throughout the pandemic, was that I was using alcohol to cope far too much. And
so many people did.
Yeah.
It's hard to come down on yourself. Like, I wouldn't recommend coming down on yourself too much for that, because you're not the only one.
Well, it kind of brought to the surface a bunch of different problematic behaviors and thought patterns I had around using alcohol all of my life.
Sure.
And it kind of brought it to a head. And I quit on my own and did it kind of all my own for the first year. And I read everything. There was podcasts, there were sobriety podcasts. They're just really good. There's lots of content out there to help support anyone in their journey. And one of the books that I read that was really, really helpful was called Quit Like a Woman. And it was really geared to obviously cisgendered, often white, hetero women, but whatever. The context is there, but the idea that women are just brought up in so many different unique ways that can feed into addiction and all of that going forward and stuff. So just some really groundbreaking stuff that I read about science and neural pathways and how they're created by alcohol and then maintained, and then you never really can go back to the time before you had those little ridges in your brain that say just one more. So anyways, that's what brought me to it. But after a year, I ended up going to there's a local group. It's an AA group, and I tried an AA meeting, and it was very God-based and very religious. They wanted to hold hands and do a prayer at the end, and I'm super anti-religion. Always have been. That's probably why I was, asked not to come back to my first year of grade 9 in a Catholic all-girls school. But anyways, that's a story for a different podcast. But
you can talk about it if you want to.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Literally it was, you're going to go somewhere else next year, right, Chantel? Yes, sir, I am. Anyways. But there's a local group, and they're called the Kawartha Free Thinkers. And it's an AA group, so they're affiliated with the district and the region and all the different hierarchy of AA. But they are agnostic, or I don't want to say atheist, agnostic, or you can go there and do the steps and work with people and have support from the community without having to feel pressure to have a higher power or to, admit to some sort of religious-based ideal of the unmanageability of your life. So
Right.
they've been really, really awesome. And I recommend anybody, if they think that might be something that could help them to go. I'm putting plugs in all over the place here today. Hey. I'm not paid for any of this. For the record. And yeah, AA doesn't make money. So.
And they're nonprofit, right?
Yeah. They do collect, there's a tradition, I think it's tradition 7 or 9. Don't come at me, but I can't remember which tradition of AA is where it's self-sustaining. So the members will contribute if they have the ability to do so, to pay for rent for the space and that kind of thing. But there's no profit to be made. It's not it's not income based. So.
Yeah. Well, it would be a little gross if it were.
It really would be.
Right? The whole point is just to help each other kind of clean up and...
Yeah, exactly. And I have very few urges to use alcohol anymore, but I still go for the, every, I don't know, maybe twice a month for the community. The community is really, really, really good. The people I've met have come from all walks of life, and they're just wonderful people and supportive and stuff. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's been really... neat couple of years. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's got to be nice to not have hangovers anymore.
Oh my God. So good. Or even just even if you don't feel bad physically, the anxiety and the shame, even if you didn't do anything, even if you can remember your whole night, which I didn't always do, but
oh wow.
It was even if, you didn't have a blackout or even if you didn't drink too much, the next day you still feel like I did something shitty. There's something I did shitty yesterday, even if it was just drinking too much alcohol.
Right.
Maybe I was just mean to my partner. Maybe I was not as attentive as I don't know. Just there's so much
tied up in that.
Yeah. And I don't have that anymore. It's great.
That's awesome. Yeah. As much nonsense as you can cut out of your life as possible.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
Exactly.
Now really, I suppose in terms of substances, caffeine is
That's not a substance, Dawson. That is it's the elixir of life.
Well, okay.
Life.
But it's still a stimulant.
It's true.
It's, it is technically a drug. It's not meth.
No.
But, yeah.
Not meth.
We still have our teeth. Yeah. My teeth might be a little stained, but they're intact.
Yes.
So, but I guess really outside of coffee, the only addiction I still have is working too much, which is tough. Is
that one of those things that you go to your interview and you're like, what's your weakness? Oh, my weakness is I'm too much of a perfectionist, that I just pay too much attention to detail.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's literally that I have such a problem saying no to projects because I guess I have terrible FOMO, I guess, is the acronym for it. The fear of missing out.
Yes.
I just want to be involved. And also, and I know it's silly, but I took almost an entire year off when my kid was born. And it felt like, maybe it's not true, but it felt like basically everybody forgot that I existed.
Oh.
And so I have been, since I've been back, I've just said yes to basically everything in an attempt to remind people that I'm still here and still good at my job.
I think that's a very common thing for new parents, probably.
I would assume to be I could still do it. I can still do it.
Yeah.
And so now I'm at a stage where currently anyway, I've said yes to too many things.
Oh no.
And it's and so I'm running triage on everything.
Yeah.
It's holy shit. I gotta say no to some stuff and start trimming some fat.
It's tough, but the sooner you learn how to do that, I think the better. It balances everything.
Yeah,
out, so,
yeah. Once I can get that worked out, I will have, I guess, no vices left, other than just really terrible self-talk. But that's a different thing. That's
a lifelong process. Battling, especially for creative people. I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it is. I don't know about you, but for me, it's mixed with when I first finish something, the unbelievable self-congratulatory, you're a fucking genius, and then 30 seconds later you're like, ew, don't ever tell anyone you thought that.
No. Don't share anything, don't do anything, just keep this to yourself.
You suck at everything, you piece of shit. You're like, oh god. Anyway, so trying to cut the nonsense out.
Yeah. And I think that's just something I'm learning very recently. I was So when the pandemic happened, I started doing the poetry stuff and all of that. I had also just learned how to roller skate, had just joined a roller derby team. And then like, I don't know, half a year into the pandemic, I was just the co-president of the Roller Derby League and doing a, video series reviewing skate parks for roller skaters. It kind of just started to pile up, and I actually just took a step back from roller derby not too long ago. I also got injured last year. So have been like trying to pare it down to the stuff that brings me the most joy and won't break all of my body.
Right.
Although I still go to the skate park and skate. I do have a mini ramp in my garage, but I'm careful with that stuff and I gear up and everything's covered that way. But yeah, learning to take a step back has been, honestly, I think it's an ongoing process and you just have to keep doing it the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I think that's what being a grown-up's about and it really sucks. But it
does.
It's hard. It's hard.
Gone are the days of Jolt Cola and SNES.
Yeah. Oh, what that it was still here.
Right.
Yeah, but but instead of doing roller derby, I've taken up a new sport. I don't know if you know about this.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do, but you should probably tell people about it.
So here's another plug coming, everyone. Pole Dancing Peterborough. So they're a local studio, just in the East City, actually, so really close to my house, but it's not for profit. It's for sport and exercise, and it's a very wonderful way to use your body. And honestly, it's almost like weight training because you're lifting your entire body up on this pole. It's not just for money or anything like that. It's such a beautiful sport, and like some of the real gains that I've had from it is like the community reminds me a lot of derby in that it's very inclusive. If you can, grip a pole, you can climb it, right? Like you can learn to do all the really cool things that you see in movies and TV and without that. I mean, there may be still a little bit of stigma with it, but it seems like all of my sports are weird. So yeah, but body positivity has been huge for that. Self-confidence in, knowing that you can do these really kind of cool, hard things that you never thought possible. It's, I guess the pandemic really kind of broadened my horizons. I wasn't doing a lot before. I really wasn't writing much, and I wasn't doing any kind of sport. I had kind of gotten like sluggish, gained some weight, and then as soon as I learned how to roller skate, it was all, I don't want to say uphill from there, but because that sounds bad, but yeah. But anyways, yeah, so...
Good, positive momentum.
Positive momentum, yes, yeah. And so now I'm doing, usually a couple of times a week, I'm doing a class. My preferred class is acro, so it's the acrobatic stuff. You're flipping upside down, you're doing inverts, you're doing all that kind of fun stuff. Not a dancer, so I have a really hard time with the dance classes, and it's kind of a running joke at the studio that I avoid them at all costs and all of that. But I actually will be facilitating or hosting... this is my crossover bit between skating, roller skating, and pole. So on January, I believe it's the 15th, I'm going to be hosting a polar skating class. Where you bring your roller skates and, quad skates are the best. Sorry about you inline skaters, but that's how I roll, literally. So doing it on the pole. So I've been doing it kind of casually. There has been a class at the studio that does that usually once a month or so. And because I'm also unable to say no to things, I was like, sure, I want to instruct this and be a facilitator for this class. Of course, why wouldn't I? I have so much time. But yeah, I'm kind of excited about the opportunity to do it, and it's kind of a jazzed feeling to have somebody say, yeah, I think you can do it. Here you go. Give me a skater profile and let me set you up on the website so that, you're an instructor. And I'm like, okay, now I have to figure out what to instruct, but but it's a blast, and I regardless of if it's roller skating or not, but go on the pole, try it. Oh yeah, I had a mutual friend of ours come out and do it, and he told me he said it was very, very hard, but that he was so impressed with the welcoming community and the strength that these people have doing these. Yeah,
we were talking about it. He was talking about he goes, holy shit,
Did he talk to you about it on the podcast?
No, I think we did we did his episode before he had done that. We did his episode, I think we're talking about Marcus Brown.
Are we allowed to dox him like that? Marcus came to pole class with me.
Sure, yeah. I can't imagine he would care.
He cares. No. Marcus, hit me up if you care.
Yeah, I'll apologize later.
No.
Nah.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. He's good.
You know what? That dude has kicked me in the dick enough over the last 3 years. Marcus and I do Muay Thai together. I should be very clear. He's not just coming up out of nowhere, just bagging me. No, it's accidental. He's trying to kick me in the stomach or the leg. He's not trying to kick me in the nads. But
and that's actually another thing too, is that I did do Muay Thai at the same place you do.
Yeah.
Very short time. It was only 6 months, but all these weird sports.
It's so fun. It's one of my favorite things. That and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I actually am going to be going back to as soon as classes resume. Yeah. Because I was pretty gun shy after my knee exploded.
And that's what happened with me with roller derby. Was part of it was being I don't want to be in pain, and I don't want to have be dependent on my family members to do things around the house that I normally would do, because I've gone and done something to myself and my weak 40-year-old knees. I don't want to be that guy. So
yeah.
It's hard to come back after injury, for sure. I understand that completely.
I actually have some, if you're not already doing them, I have some really cool knee exercises I can show you when we're done, if you're interested.
As long as we're not doing it on video.
No. Yes. No. We'll just go in my little gym over there when we wrap.
I do find the roller skating, especially in skate parks and on my mini ramp, it's a really good at getting all those little stabilizing muscles in shape. Yeah. And then pole has been upper body focused.
The core strength required for that kind of stuff is insane.
Sometimes I go home and I'm just like, oh, I didn't even know I had those.
Can you do the human flag thing?
Getting there.
That's so cool,
so
dude.
I can show you a picture, but I do have it's called it sounds perverted, but it's not. An inverted D. So it's just it's the shape of your body, and you're upside down when you do it. So you're basically I can't even describe it without showing a picture, but it doesn't matter. Maybe I'll let you show a picture on your something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so,
I almost made the most inappropriate joke.
Right?
I can't help. I was just
it's so tough. I
really want to do a George Costanza. I was in the pool.
I know. Right? Yeah. No, it's not that. No. We actually just finished rewatching all of Seinfeld from start to finish, because I'd never done that. It was a little old for me when I was a kid. It's definitely more Sean's age cohort. So yeah. But yeah, speaking of not being able to say no to anything, I'm also going back to school. Yeah.
Holy shit.
I'm only gonna so I already have a degree. I have a criminology degree, and I have a couple of college diplomas from when I was very young. But I just because Sean works at Trent, right? So he gets a tuition waiver for his dependents.
Yeah.
So I was I've always wanted to go and get a history degree, and I always thought, but the only thing you can do with a history degree is teach, and I don't really want to teach. I like my job. So I've just decided now I'm just going to do it anyways, just for fun. So
That's cool.
I'm starting just part-time, just for this semester, 1 class, and then maybe 2 next semester. But starting next week, actually. So,
dude, that's awesome. Is there any kind of streamlined focus in it, or is it just world history?
It's going to be, I don't know. I'm kind of going to explore it as I go. And I had signed up for 2 courses for this semester and kind of got the feedback, well, you might want to start with 1. And then I'm thinking, I'm only taking this one because I have to take a 100 level, and that's the only other one, or not 100, first year level. And this was the only other first year level that was available this semester. And I thought, I'm doing this degree for myself, entirely for my own interest. This doesn't sound that interesting to me. So I'm just going to do the really interesting sounding one. And I'm going to do that for the rest of this, however long it takes me to finish this degree. So yeah. So
that's so cool.
So every time I have a bit of free time, I'm like, let's fill that with something. So maybe I haven't learned shit. I think that's what I've discovered in this entire conversation. Huh.
Well,
Sean's going to be sitting back listening to this going,
It's like, how long do I have to wait before I say I told you so?
I know, right? He's really pretty good about not saying that kind of stuff, but he might not be able to help himself this time.
Well, I don't know.
I'm just giving it to him. I'm putting it out on a platter for him.
One thing I will say that I'm a little bit patting myself on the back for is with the whole I told you so thing. I've been saying it so much less lately because one of the things I've noticed is it changes fuck all.
No, it does, yeah.
So
except for maybe a little bit of somebody's attitude towards you.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I mean, of what's already happened, well, it's too late. So why go, nah, I feel like I can tell you so. Instead of now, what I do, which is probably still irritating, is like, hey, the next time we do this, what if we take this route, having learned.
I wonder if Marcus is rubbing off on you a bit from hanging out with him for the last little while.
I'm sure quite a bit.
Because that sounds that's like a really good Marcus response.
He probably says it in a much nicer way than I do, though.
Maybe.
Because he's just a nicer person than I am.
Is he?
I think so. Well,
I think you're both nice.
Well, thank you. I think he's nicer than me, though. He's definitely more patient than I am. Most of the time. There was one time, though, where I really saw him lose his patience, and it's one of my favorite things ever. We were at this gig, and everything was taking so much longer than it needed to. None of it should have gone down the way it did. Well, maybe not none of it, but like 80% of this gig shouldn't have gone down the way it did. And at one point, Marcus, you watch his face start to change. And at one point, he literally just goes,
I feel like I've seen him maybe once or twice over the years that I've known him at that level. But yeah, it takes a lot to get him there, I think.
Yes, there were other external sources at play as well, and this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And I should not take pleasure in someone else's discomfort.
No, but you kind of do.
But it was just, he's so stoic.
I know.
All the time.
And positive. And
yeah, and everything's like, well, maybe, but have you thought about this sunny side of it? Like, can something not just be shitty, dude? Like, fuck. Anyway, he's one of my favorite people in the world. Yeah. So I do want to make that clear. But it was so funny. It was so funny, and I really shouldn't revel in it, but it was so funny to see him.
We can't be perfect.
No. Like, to see him at the breaking point, I was like, he's human. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I can't believe it.
He's not the Dalai Lama in drummer form. Sorry, Marcus. Love you.
Well, I don't think the Dalai Lama has hair as glorious as Marcus Brown, or any of the Browns for that matter. Yeah. They all have incredible hair.
They do.
It's unreal.
It's unnatural.
Well,
I mean,
not for them.
It's probably really natural.
It's supernatural, yeah. Supernatural.
Good show.
Yeah. The first couple seasons.
Say 4.
Yeah.
After that.
What was it? Was it the end of season 4, the end of season 3, where Sam dives into the pit? And that, with the natural, what I thought was the natural conclusion of the show? Yeah. Yeah.
And 20 more seasons.
Yeah, 20 more. Oh my God.
I watched them all, though.
Although the Scooby-Doo crossover was really fun.
That was really good.
Yeah. That was awesome. Worth it just for that one episode.
Did you give a shot to the prequel one? The Mary and John Winchester storyline of just them?
didn't even know it existed, and I will never watch it.
Do not.
Yeah.
Do not. I watched about 4 minutes of it.
And wow.
Nope.
It's that bad.
It's that bad. Yeah. Sorry. Or you're not going to listen to this Mary and John Winchester spin-off people.
But your show stinks, apparently.
Just should have left it alone.
Yeah. I don't know. I love those Monster of the Week kind of shows, though.
Yeah. It was good until that changed.
Yeah.
That one, but
yeah. It's sort of like the X-Files, too. Before it became serialized.
I never really watched that.
Did you not?
I've watched a few episodes here and there over the years, but
I can't watch it with Amber. It's too scary.
Oh, I didn't have a lot of cable when I was a kid. Most of it.
Oh, me
very
neither.
Much of the time. So.
I went to a buddy's place just to watch X-Files.
Nice.
Yeah, he lived next door, so.
My friends were more into weed than X-Files. So, yeah.
Well,
I guess you could be into both, really.
I was 10.
Oh, right.
So.
I was early teens, I guess, yeah.
Well, you're only, 2 years older than me?
2 or 3. I'm going to be 43 next week.
Oh.
2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now.
So you're like 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a solid.
Yeah, that's enough time. Well, you know what? I smoked my first joint when I was 13, so.
That's 12, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have. It's way too young to be fucking with your frontal lobe like that.
I know. I remember telling the story of the first time I smoked a joint at a family dinner type thing, right? My family's pretty chill and pretty whatever. Sometimes chaotic, but, good-hearted. Yep. And my mother looks at me and goes, "Where did you get a joint when you were 12?" And I went, "From your bedside table, Mom." And I don't care if the internet knows that. She won't carry that. She'll laugh to you. She's pretty. I'll get all my my good stuff from her. So.
I was very clandestine about all of my pot use until I was in my late teens. And the first time I smoked weed at a family dinner, it was a Christmas dinner. And I was so barbecued, dude. This was back before I would have panic attacks. And you know,
it was enjoyable in your teens.
Oh,
it was good for me in my teens too.
Great. Yeah. It was the most fun. And you know how you really can only get so high smoking?
Yeah.
I always tried to go past the ceiling. Pretty much. It's people talk about the glass ceiling. It's concrete.
Yeah.
But I was still chipping away.
Trying.
I was trying my best. And I got so barbecued. I was at this family dinner and I feel so terrible, especially knowing now that it was probably early onset Alzheimer's.
Oh no.
So my grandmother had always been a little spacey. My mom's mom, sorry ma. She was always a bit of a space cadet. But at this point, it was probably early onset Alzheimer's.
Oh.
And I got so roasted that I put the eggnog in the glasses cupboard.
Oh.
And
did Grandma call you out on that?
Somebody found it.
Okay.
And was like, Mom, did you get confused? And I was like, Grandma, that's not where the eggnog goes.
You did not let her take the fall.
Dude, I totally threw her under the bus because I didn't want to get busted for being stoned.
That's terrible.
I know.
You might, if there's an afterlife, you might be in trouble.
Oh, dude. See, Marcus would never do that.
I know. I'm not Marcus.
No, I am not.
It's just my pal.
Yeah. Like, sorry, Grandma, it's either you or me, and I like me a little bit more.
Especially when you're that age.
I know.
Throw anybody on the bus, including your grandmother.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Well, when you're, especially me, like 17-year-old me was a real piece of shit.
Same.
I was such an asshole. Oh my God. So 17-year-old me, this is the same dude that put chocolate pudding into a condom that I bought from the school bathroom and nunchucked people with it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That guy is so uncool.
That guy's pretty uncool. Probably kind of funny at the time, but...
Oh, I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I was also, again, super fucking high.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be that stoned. You shouldn't be stoned at school anyway.
Well, and they say under like 25 is probably frowned upon. Fuck your brain up.
Super bad for your brain, yeah. Because your frontal lobe doesn't really finish forming until... They're even pushing it back.
To
they're
28.
Saying 27, 28. Yeah. So...
Crazy.
And the amount of damage I did between substances and head injuries well before 25 even is just regrettable, I suppose. But yeah. So you got published.
I did, yeah.
How did that happen? Were you submitting?
I've been submitting to a bunch of stuff, yeah. Somebody gave me the advice a long time ago about writing, and it's, you're not going to get published if you don't show people your stuff. So I've been showing people my stuff. And one of the places... So I submitted to a bunch of contests. So I've been like longlisted a couple of times in the last year. I've been... I got an honorable mention for one poem over the summer. And when I came out of that Humber program, I actually got what's called a letter of distinction. And it's awarded to students in that program who their mentor thinks show... I sound like I'm, giving myself props, but exceptional promise or potential. And if you get the letter of distinction, you are allowed to submit your work to, it's like a publisher's portal, where Canadian publishers will go in and see what's, the work that's coming out of Humber or whatever other, I don't know if there's another college that submits to that. But so you have a little bit of a greater exposure, but you know how artists die of exposure, right? So,
yes.
So I did do that. Nothing has come of that so far. That was for my second collection. And so I've just been submitting stuff. And in the summer, I guess it was the summer, I applied to the League of Canadian Poets is the organization that published my poem recently. And it's a league made up of poets of varying levels in their career. So from complete beginners to very seasoned, well-known, Margaret Atwood, I think is a member kind of thing, right?
Oh, wow.
There's I think there might be a membership fee. It's pretty nominal, and I think it's adjusted for students and stuff like that. But they had a bunch of different contests to apply to. They also had a mentorship program that I don't know if they've just started running it, but I only noticed it the last year. And I applied to it, and so basically what happens is you apply as a mentor or as a mentee, and I applied as a mentee, of course. I'm just kind of starting out. And you get paired with a Canadian author, similar to the Humber program, but shorter in duration, and it's not through college, or it's not affiliated that way. So the mentor gets an honorarium for spending, I think it's like 10 hours of time that you get with this, or 10 or 12 hours that you get with your mentor. So you can submit stuff. They can give you, exercises or prompts or things to kind of get your creativity going. But I got paired with Sandra Ridley, who is an Ottawa-based poet who has won a bunch of awards this year. And
oh, cool.
The first thing that we talked about when we met on a Zoom call was how she doesn't read poetry during the summer. She just reads Stephen King. And I was like, oh, dude, this was meant to be. And it turned out fantastic. Anyways, at the end of all of this, I did submit to the League for what they call their Fresh Voices program. And it's every Friday they release, they publish a poem by an emerging artist or emerging author. It's a submission process just like anything else. You do it through Submittable, that kind of thing. But so yeah, I got to have one of my poems from my first collection published, and that was a pretty big deal. It was the first one that I could say, look, somebody else besides my mom really likes my poem, right? So, it was pretty cool to see my name on on a website, and like,
it is super cool.
And they have a membership, so they send a newsletter out every Friday or every other day or something to share poetry and to publish emerging artists, but also veteran artists as well. So yeah, it was pretty awesome.
That's very cool. What's the website so people can find it?
It's leagueofcanadianpoets.ca, I think. But if you just look up League of Canadian Poets, you'll find it.
Cool.
Yeah, and become a member or follow along. Poetry is great, and it's so diverse. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand about poetry, especially a lot of the traditional kind of styles of poetry, but there's some really edgy stuff, or some really, like, I don't know, I don't want to call it modern, but like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the spoken word stuff that Button Poetry puts out. They have some really,
not familiar.
Okay, so it's spoken word stuff, and it's fast, and it's hard hitting, and it's lyrical, and it's a performance in addition to something on paper or whatever, right? Like, it's bringing kind of this art form to life, and that's what I fell in love with at the Peterborough Poetry Slam.
Right.
Was the idea of saying your stuff in front of people and making a thing of it. So
for sure. Well, yeah. It definitely changes when it's performed as opposed to just reading it off the page, especially in the voice of the author.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference because that person's cadence, where they put emphasis, the inflection changes and all that kind of stuff. Everything is, because when I read something, I hear it in the voice that's in my head.
Yeah.
One of them anyway.
Yeah.
And that is maybe not how it was written or even intended, right? So it's really, to me, I think it's really cool when I hear, because I have looked up different, depending on who it is, there are different poets that I enjoy, and hearing them do it in their voice, you're like, oh.
Yeah, you catch a little, there's a different depth to it, or a different, like, meaning, I guess, or something to it. Yeah. And I find that when I'm writing poetry for spoken word purposes, I write it differently than I do regular poetry or non-performative poetry. Right. Yeah. Especially, like, there's some stuff I want to say that you can't get it if you read it, but if you look at it on a page, sometimes it's more evocative of whatever I'm trying to say. So
sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now that you've been so much more steeped into it, do you have, like, your Mount Rushmore, which I'm sure is constantly evolving, but at least one that has been steady for a little while?
In terms of?
Just poets that you're really into.
Oh, it changes, like, not changes a lot, but the list gets added to a lot.
Yeah.
I really love watching the videos of the spoken word poets with Button Poetry. So, like, Rudy Francisco, Neil Hilburn, Sarah Kay. Now I'm going to be on the spot and can't think of anybody else. But if you go to Button Poetry, you'll find them. They've got just some wonderful, wonderful performers. And voices that aren't heard in more traditional poetic spaces, Like, it was, it's a medium that was very much ruled by old white guys for the longest time, just like a whole lot of other places, right? But it's always been a part of, I think, like Black culture and stuff like that.
Sure.
So like that's been the dub poets, where I think were the ones that kind of came up with this idea of spoken word. Although spoken poetry has been a thing for millennia, right? Like people have always told stories in an oral fashion, right? So
sure. Well, haiku was a pretty
I do like a good
deal.
haiku. My first collection has a couple. I've got a series of haiku in my first collection that are they're kind of pop culture reference, because they're all based on the song titles and lyrics of New Kids on the Block, because that was like the definitive band of my childhood. The first concert I ever went to.
That's awesome. I wish I didn't have a mouthful of water when you said the band. That's great, though.
So
all I could think when I had that, I was like, oh.
Yeah. The right stuff.
So good.
Yeah, so there's like all of my favorite poets keep changing and keep getting added to. So
yeah,
it's like picking a favorite book or movie. Like you can't.
Or band or
whatever.
what.
Oh, God, yeah. No,
it's like, as soon as I asked it to, it was like, this is a shitty question. Like,
just don't ask me where I get my ideas.
From my brain. Fucker.
Yeah, right?
Like, what do you mean?
My broken psyche.
Yeah. I saw this interview show. I'm not going to say what it was, but this guy was like, what do you think is the greatest guitar riff ever written? I'm like,
God.
what a mean question to ask a guitar player.
How do you narrow it down, and then how do you do that without like making
everybody else feel
shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, now he did. The answer was pretty cool. The guy ended up saying "Purple Haze" by Jimi Hendrix, which that's pretty. Sweet fucking riff.
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I don't know. At the same time, though, it's like, but there's so many questions like that. Like when I asked you what your current Rushmore is, anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, that's how you know this guy isn't really deep into poetry. And when that dude asked about the best guitar riff, it's like, well, you're not a guitar player.
Yeah.
It's like, those are
that's okay.
telling questions.
Everybody
and I'm sorry I asked that.
You're
that
fine.
was a shitty question.
All good.
I'll never ask it again. So we've hit our time for this portion of it. We're going to go into overtime because you've brought some stuff to read.
Sure.
And so if you want to hear the stuff that Chantel's going to do, you're going to have to switch over to the streaming platforms.
So welcome to my mother.
Yeah.
She's the only one who's going to switch over. But anyway.
No, there's other people.
All right.
My mom listens to them too.
Oh, nice.
She doesn't. So thank you, Chantel Daniels, so much for coming here. Where can people find all your stuff your socials and your poetry and all that?
I've just streamlined all of my socials, so it's just Chantel Renee Daniels at Facebook, at Instagram. I'm not on the TikTok. I don't know how to do that yet. I'm showing my age, but yeah, you can just Google that and you'll probably find me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And thank you so much to Pet Rock Radio for putting this out. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the streaming services.
Yes, we will.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, what's up, 646 listeners? It's Dawson McManus here, holding it down on the low end as a bass player. And I can tell you, I know the struggle. You're grooving along, you're locking into the drums, everything's perfect, and then wham! You're totally drowned out by the cymbals. It's a total vibe killer. I know I'm not alone. That's why I'm super stoked to tell you about the Mad Cymbal Shields by Mad Sound Dynamics. Mad Cymbal Shields are a total game changer. They're designed to control volume and harshness without killing the natural tone. That means drummers can still go all out with their energy and passion, while the rest of us, bass players, singers, guitarists, keyboardists, etc., actually hear ourselves in the mix. And sound engineers, they are gonna love you for cutting down on the cymbal bleed from literally every other mic on stage. Drummers, listen up. Don't hold back. Play with the intensity and the power and the passion that drives the tune without overpowering the band. With Mad Cymbal Shields, you can let loose while keeping everything balanced. Trust me, your bass player and everybody else on stage is gonna thank you for it. And because you are part of the 646 family, Mad Sound Dynamics is giving you a special exclusive deal. Use the promo code 646 at checkout on madsounddynamics.com and get 10% off of your order. That's right, better sound for the whole band and at a discount just for tuning in. Looking for the perfect gift for your drummer? Give them something everyone will thank you for. Check out madsounddynamics.com today, and don't forget to use the promo code 646 to get your 10% off. Mad Cymbal Shields, Mad Sound Dynamics, because great music starts with balance. Let's get back to the show. Now we're going to get into the overtime stuff, and Chantel, you've brought some stuff to read for us.
I have. I brought a few.
Sweet.
So I brought the one that was published.
Nice.
It's short, and it's from my first collection. And like I said in the first half of this, it was published by the League of Canadian Poets recently online. I don't think they have a print thing, so you can find it there. This one's called Zuckerberg's Eulogy. I really enjoy naming poems or titling. It's really fun to do. So
awesome.
I will go ahead. Zuckerberg's Eulogy. I won't know it when my father dies. There will be no tearful plea to come wait by his bedside for a final breath or deathbed contrition. No legacy passed on to his oldest. There will be secondhand information. An aunt will reach out, or a cousin will post something on social media. It will be comprised of possibly sincere but entirely undeserved platitudes. Everyone's better in death, but I think the bar is very low. There'll be a handful of relatives I don't know, posting condolences about God's hands and angels, trite one-liners, R.I.P. Randy. I know that's how it will happen because the algorithm keeps telling me he's someone you may know. My father is a Facebook friend suggestion. Removed. That's
wow.
It. Sorry, father, but not sorry. You have been fodder for many a poem.
That was cool. I have some questions if that's cool.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
It's obviously not a traditional rhyme scheme.
No.
It's not like an A B sort of thing.
Nope.
But there are legitimate rhymes in there. Is that intentional, or is that just happenstance?
Sort of a bit of both.
Okay.
I don't do a lot of traditional like rhyming poetry, and I don't actually know a lot of poets currently who do that too much. In spoken word, it actually seems to be a little bit more common, where it's because you want that cadence and that fast kind of like it's not like a rap, but it's like, yeah, there's just emphasis placed on the rhyming and the sounds, the I guess, I don't know, the melody of a poem, right?
Yeah.
For spoken word anyways. And the next poem that I read, there's a little bit of that too. So it's slightly intentional, but it just, even when you're reading it in your head, I want you to kind of hear that too. So I would say more intentional than not. And
right.
It's just this, like, I don't know, like when you're writing a song, you kind of, you want it to stick in certain places, and you want a throwback to that other line, or you want, like, you know, something like that. So yes,
for sure.
I would say more intentional than not. So,
cool.
Yeah.
I also do really appreciate that when the rhymes do happen, it's not, I don't know if this is an actual term, but it's something that I say all the time. It's not hurricane pain. Okay. You know? Yep. That drives me insane in my brain.
You don't like the slant rhymes.
Oh, dude. It's just, they're rough. You know what I mean?
They can be, like, yeah.
There are too many, I see it in lyrics so often. Where
it's almost like it's forced. It's just a little bit too, like, if you have to force it, it's shit, right? It's like
yeah, exactly. You're gonna, yeah. Okay, that's how you prolapse. You know. Yeah. So
don't do it.
Don't push so hard. You're gonna blow out your O-ring.
I'm never gonna be able to read anything else.
But I appreciate that when writers do that, when they, if the rhyme happens, it's in a cool way, and it's not so, like, a perfect rhyme is rare that isn't lame.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I have a hard time with the rhyming stuff, but as you'll see, I do include it sometimes. And I think it has its place, and I think it kind of always has, but I think people are redefining a little bit, and not me. I'm not saying that I'm anyway a pioneer or whatever. People are redefining poetry and what it means and what it looks like, and, you know, coming from different perspectives and voices that have traditionally not been heard in those forums, right?
Sure.
Like, you know, due to whatever patriarchy, oppression, racism, all that kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, things are evolving. Just like music evolves, just like all kinds of things.
True.
Yeah, same idea with poetry. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All
I'm going to read another one?
Yeah.
Okay. I brought a couple.
Good.
This is one I performed at the Peterborough Poetry Slam. More than once, I think, because if it ain't broke, I don't know. It's called 50/50, A Horse, a Rabbit, and it's from my second collection, which is called Inanimated Objects. Excuse me. And there's some rhymes. My grandfather had dementia for almost a decade before he died. It started with tiny confusions, unnoticeable brain contusions, forgotten appointments, a profusion of misremembered names and dates. But then he got lost 15 minutes from home, and the small things grew wings, became panicky little birds like finches. Those demented avians could be funny. Cheeping in his ears, despite having been for years a loyal Wheel of Fortune fan, he suddenly believed Pat Sajak tried to kill him once. Called Pat an asshole until the day he died, long before we realized he'd been right. A doubling span of wing, the small things just kept growing, rippling feathers clouding his knowing exactly who we were. The peeping drowning out the sounds of life, his family, but despite the cacophony, he sometimes still sang spontaneously, amiably, usually in French. And even then could be counted on to say with a shrug, 50/50, a horse, a rabbit, if you asked him how he was. I didn't understand it then, but sometimes now when anxiety settles in for a long haul and I think I hear a distant rustle of feather, I try to ride out the stormy weather, hum the panic bird song instead, count my hooves, adjust my cottontail, and think I just might understand my pair pretty well, after all.
Nice.
So there were some rhymes in that one.
Yeah, but again, they're not those... I don't want to call out any lyricists that do it.
No, I know.
But
it's just not for us.
Yeah, it's definitely not for me. I think because it feels so first drafty.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And look, sometimes a first draft is actually baller.
Yes.
But in my experience personally, I have written one song that lyrically only had a single draft.
Yeah.
Out of every song I've ever written, one song had a single draft.
What song was it?
It is called Itea.
Okay.
And I wrote it on the plane ride home from my honeymoon.
Aww.
We went to Greece.
Nice. And
there was this incredible seaside town on the Aegean Sea called Itea. And I was writing, and I have a real problem with flying. I don't like to fly. So I wanted to distract myself, especially because there's a long-ass plane ride. So initially it started as a poem. And because I didn't realize at the same time, what's funny is I actually wrote the music for it also in Itea.
Oh, really?
But I wrote it on this, it's called a gitalele. So it's the same sort of intervals of the strings tuning of a guitar, but I think it's like C standard as opposed to E standard, which I'm sure doesn't mean anything to a lot of people, and I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
But I was sitting on this balcony and playing this, I don't know, just the water made me feel something that I was looking at. And so I just started playing, and then on the plane ride home, I was just sort of quietly reminiscing to myself about every experience we had while we were in Greece, because it was pretty transformative.
Yeah, would be.
It was the first time I'd ever left the continent. I've been all over North America, but I've never been across the pond.
It really changes you, I think.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. And so I finished writing it, or what I thought, at least my first draft is done, is what I was thinking. And I hand my phone, because I was just typing it, I hand my phone to Amber, and I actually hate typing lyrics, especially with my thumbs. It feels very soulless. I really like using a pen. I don't
actually type with my thumbs, but anyways, carry on.
Oh, do you do it?
No, I swipe text.
Oh, I'm apparently I'm even older than you somehow.
I don't know. I
do this.
Like my kids do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's old.
I don't know.
Sorry, carry on.
No, it's all right.
Keep interrupting your story.
No, it's fine. this is your episode. I shouldn't be telling stories.
No, it's good. It's good.
I handed it to my wife, and she looks at it and she goes, "Okay, you know how you always do multiple drafts of everything? Don't fuck with this."
She told you to leave it. Nice.
Or to verbatim.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with this. So,
good for
yes,
her.
ma'am. And you've played Quiplash with my missus.
Yeah.
You know that she is quietly really vulgar, but also super funny.
Yes, agree.
And she just goes, "Don't fuck with this," because we got this really cool picture of Santorini, which was one of the islands that we got to go to, which was it was awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. I have very rarely actually wept looking at natural scenery before, and leaving some of those islands, I cried more than once.
Yeah,
actually, on that trip. Yeah, it was really wild. I was like, oh, there's something broken in me now. That's weird. That's never coming back.
No, it's not broken. It's open.
Yes, opened. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, she wanted to have this poem printed on the back of the picture.
Right.
And I thought that was a great idea, and it somehow I kept messing around with that guitar riff that I'd come up with on the balcony, and I was like, holy shit, hang on a second. And I just somehow, you know how like thoughts just kind of come out of seemingly nowhere, almost like it's been beamed into your brain by an alien or something.
All the best stuff.
Yeah. And I just started singing this melody over the chord progression of the poem that I had written. And I was like, oh, it's all the same song.
Yay.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And I showed it to my wife, and I was like, honey, check this out.
Yeah.
She goes, remember what I said on the plane about not fucking with this? And I was like, uh-huh. She's like, don't add 50 instruments. Don't do that thing that you always fucking do. Yep. I'm like, okay, geez, you're getting really aggressive. She goes, no, listen to me. It's just your guitar and your voice.
Perfect.
Don't do anything else.
Oh, that's good that she can give you that feedback.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So I came downstairs. If you want, I'll show it to you when we're done.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I recorded it, and I was like, hey, what do you think? She goes, yeah, leave that alone. I was like, yes, ma'am.
That's good. It's good. It's good that you have somebody in your life that can tell you that. Straight up, right?
She's
everybody needs that, especially creative people. You definitely need that, I think.
Yeah, I have a couple of people that listen to my stuff before anyone else does, and she is one of them. Yeah. And I mean, shit, I was 18 when we started dating. Yeah. And so
she knows you better than anyone. She knows you better than you do.
Usually. Yeah. It's like, it's like, I'm really sluggish today. She's like, nah, you just need to poo. Oh, okay. You're probably right.
Yeah, Sean and I we call each other our dream crushers. But it's not like a negative way necessarily. It could be just leave that as it is. It's perfect the way it is. But also it might be, yeah, you just signed up for school to teach, to do this, that, and the other. Stop accepting things. This is not something you have the time for right now. So yes, we are each other's dream crushers, and I think everybody needs a dream crusher in their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you need to be that for somebody else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, big time.
You got to give in this life as well. Yep. So
and knowing how to tell somebody else, you need to start saying no to stuff. Yeah. Because you're becoming unpleasant to be around due to the stress you're carrying. Having someone that you trust to either say that to you or to be able to say that to somebody else is so incredibly invaluable. And I think we're both quite lucky to have that kind of partnership with our spouses to be able to do that. Because I think that just because you're a spouse does not necessarily mean you're a partner always. No. And so being able to have that is pretty awesome.
Pretty special,
yeah. It's rad.
Fully unrelated.
Yes.
I have this present for you.
Oh my God, that's right.
And it's been sitting down here, and maybe it shouldn't be, but I'm passing that off to you now.
Is this exactly what I think it is?
Yep, it pretty much is.
Yeah, it is.
It is. You might have to show your camera so they know what the heck it is.
Oh, yes.
So we came up with a tradition several years ago.
Here we go.
I think during the pandemic.
It was. We were
that
playing.
That should probably go in the fridge.
It should.
By the way.
That's okay. I'm going to eat
cured. It's cured.
I'm going to eat it very soon.
It's prosciutto, if anybody.
It is.
Anyways, yeah. So maybe you tell the story. It started when we were online playing a game, right?
Yes.
On New Year's Eve?
So Sean, who is actually going to be on the show when we
make a date,
line up for both of us. He is a tech wizard. Yes. This dude is unreal.
Among other things.
Yeah. I mean, he's
ridiculous.
I keep calling him Peterborough's Adam Savage.
Who's Adam Savage?
Oh, do you remember Mythbusters?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So
yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Adam Savage is a special effects artist. He's a fabricator. Yeah. He's a kind of an amateur scientist, enthusiast, and and Sean does 3D printing. He does crazy digital art. He's a musician. He's a film editor. He's
really handsome. I love him.
And he just almost anything that you would expect somebody to have an expertise, a singular expertise in a creative field, he at the very least dabbles in that thing. And what he calls dabbling is actually ridiculously deep for most people. Yes. And so he built these video game things, boxes that you would plug into your TV and it would boot it up, and he got this private server for all of us that were trapped in our houses because we were all just going fucking nuts. Crazy, doing nothing. Well, not doing nothing, but just I was basically doing nothing. I was stuck here. All I did all day was
I was drinking. Call back earlier.
Yeah, right. And so Sean created this really wonderful outlet for his friends, and we would play really silly games online. And Amber, my wife and I'm going to bleep that later.
I think you said it earlier too.
Did I?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try really hard not to say her or the kid's name on the show.
Yeah, no, I get it.
They didn't sign up for it.
Yeah, Sean signed up for this, he knows.
Yeah, well, he's going to be on. He's going to be on the show,
exactly.
So I feel like that's fair game.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I was playing, the missus and I were eating cured meats and expensive cheeses.
They really were.
And
we were jealous.
You guys made a comment about how you wished you had some, and both Sean and Chantel, since they live in the same house, they only live about, well, if you sprint, it's actually
if you run through the houses in the middle.
If you fence hop, which I may or may not have done, it takes me about a minute to run, maybe 2 minutes tops to run to their house and back. So I grabbed some of our leftover charcuterie, put it in a Ziploc bag. I sprinted to their house, banged on the door, like basically ding dong ditched or Nicky Nine Doors, whatever you want to call it, threw the food at their doorstep and bolted home. And I was back on the couch.
As we went up.
As you guys went up to see who was at the door. I was like hopping over the couch, sweaty, because I ran pretty fast. And that started this ridiculous tradition on typically New Year's, but we both had very busy New Year's seasons.
You cheated this year.
I did, I know.
Dawson showed up. Well, it didn't show up because we didn't know, but the meat showed up. The assorted meats showed up at our house on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
And he did not ring the doorbell or knock or make any kind of sign of his presence. I just found it outside, which is fine. That's how I like to collect my meats. But so he cheated. He showed up on Christmas Eve, which is outside of the rules of the all meats Eve. So I thought it was fine to bring it today instead.
Yeah.
So
well, I thank you so much. No, I know.
Now that it's been sitting there for an hour, please go put it in your fridge.
I'm just gonna. I won't eat it on the show because that'd be gross.
That's
but
really gross.
Yeah, you just want to hear that, like.
No.
Not gonna make that sound on the mic. No. Yeah, disgusting. Anyway, thank you so much. And yes, we have a ridiculous tradition, and I absolutely love it. And normally, though, it's on New Year's Eve, and we will. see who's first to tape it on the other person's door.
We're always first.
Yeah.
When we follow the rules.
Well, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
I guess. Not first or last.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. That's actually a lyric of mine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love to do pop culture references in my work too.
Right.
It's really fun.
What else you got?
Okay. Well, I think I brought 2 more. But
cool.
We'll see whether I read both.
I should.
One's very personal at the end.
Oh,
the last one. But it's...
If you're comfortable to do it, then do it.
It's personal, but I also want to bring a message. So I have to give it some context, but I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So my current collection that I'm working on is called Apocalypse Grief Manual. And this is I've written about 10 poems, maybe 15, for that collection so far. And I have to, now that we're on video for this portion, I definitely talk with my hands in life, but especially in poetry, especially when I'm reading it in front of people, I'm like, so I'm trying to fight that right now so that I don't hit
because you don't want to bang
or
anything,
but
get that thunk.
Right?
There's a couple
I'm already
of those
wailing
already.
in my chair. It's too much already. So
you're fine.
All right, so I'll try to do this. This one's called Henny Penny's Armed and Smoking Again. My therapist isn't totally against me smoking, calls it breath work, calls it helpful for now. For the times when the active shooters on the ledges in my mind climb down into my stomach to churn my guts, no matter how hard I try to tell myself this is a drill. I heard a comedian joke about the end of the world. Climate change or something else said she was just waiting for the scientists to proclaim the world's diagnosis, best case scenario, 5 years left, to smoke again. But there are so many world-ending asteroids unpredicted by the Hubble telescope, unseen by anyone but me and a few of my lay people. I'm Chicken Little number 1 with a bullet and a gag. Forced to post memes when my sky is falling, when maybe she was right to panic, descended from dinosaurs who really knew what the end of the world felt like, doom written in her DNA, preserved in amber, smelling of ash, scent the strongest scents. So practically speaking, I shouldn't start smoking for the apocalypse anyway, because all the lovely comforts rolled up in a crisp white tube that give reprieve also give away my position. The flick of the Bic, less therapeutic, more challenge to the universe. Smoke signaling, come get me, I'm ready, when I'm not. Not now any more than then, when I was 13 the first time I inhaled. But what came first? Trauma or response? Chicken or bolid? The flick, the chick, the egg, or the earth-shattering kaboom?
I like that.
That was a fun one to write.
That's really cool.
And you can tell, because my shoulders do this when I'm reading it.
You're like, that was a fucking good line. That's awesome. So
yes.
With some process stuff, how many drafts do you typically, or does it, I guess probably there's no set number, it's just...
There's not really a set number. And I'm, for a lot of the poets that I've met and spoken with, a lot of people prefer to write pen to paper. Mm-hmm. And I always thought I would be that guy. I've bought 17 million notebooks. They're gifted to people. And as soon as you tell them you're a writer of any sort, or any caliber, they're like, I just know just what to get you for Christmas. And it's like, I already have 7 empty notebooks sitting there judging me. So I don't write that way. I normally write on my computer. And I have to sort of come to the page, quote unquote, that screen with an idea, and I know that's really counterintuitive to all the stuff that they tell you. Sit down every day and at this specific time and write for this long or for this many words. I haven't gotten into that habit properly, and that's one of my New Year's resolutions, which made me go, ugh, but
sure.
It's one thing I want to do more of, and try to carve out space for so that I can be a little more productive with this than I have been recently. So, what was I going to say with all of that?
Typical draft attempts, I guess.
I work on it until or if I start getting frustrated and I'm like, what am I trying to do here? Okay, and then I'll step away. Mm-hmm. You have to step away or maybe work on something else or do some completely unrelated to poetry to kind of refresh what you were trying to say in the first place. And then I'll go back to, okay, what was that line that I really, really wanted to include? So drafts could be, I mean, even what I would think is my best work, many drafts, half dozen for sure, sometimes more. Yep. There's been times where I've been at a poetry slam and I'm about to go read where I'm editing a little bit on my phone as I'm about to go up there. I'm like, oh, this would make more sense if I did this. So
right.
I feel like they're always kind of a work in progress.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
Many drafts.
Yeah. Art's never finished, only abandoned.
Yeah, but then sometimes you can overwork it, and then it's like the meaning is gone, or you've like your for example, art. Your canvas is muddy because you've mixed up too many colors, or you've gone too in depth in the one spot. See, I knew I was going to do that, but yeah. So my process is ongoing.
Right. Can you feel it when you've monkeyed with it too much? Yeah. You're like, nope.
Then I'm like, and I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll come back to it, and sometimes it can be salvaged, but sometimes it's left as that one untitled document in my Google Docs that just like judges me every time I open it. I'm like, that should have a title. That should be finished.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I can't show you right now because both my phones are being used to film. But yeah, there's another one right there.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
What if I was doing something behind my head that I didn't know about? Just kidding. I don't know.
Smoking out of the back of your head?
Yeah. Like crack or something. Yeah. Oh, that's where I smoke crack out of. Sorry.
Yeah. What are you doing? Burning rocks.
My blowhole. That works on
yeah, right? Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. What was it? Oh, yes, just untitled stuff. And something that I do a lot of when you were talking about sitting down to write, I will carve out, I don't give a shit about how many words I've written. I'll just sit and I'll write stream of consciousness nonsense. And I try to do a minimum of 15 minutes a day. Nice.
That's a really, really good habit to get into.
Yeah. And by doing that, I find that, and like 98% of it is garbage. And
that's what you're getting out. That's what you're supposed to be doing, yeah.
But every once in a while, I'll write a line or even a single word, and I'll go, ooh.
I know what I want to do with that. Or,
what is that? Okay, let's play around with this.
Yeah.
Like, one day, I was working on just playing with words. I wrote down, instead of c'est la vie, I wrote c'est la sleaze. Yeah. Right?
I like that. That's fun.
Right?
Wordplay's fun.
Yeah. And it literally turned into a song about basically... It's super fucked up. It's more of an allegory, but it turned into a fictional bordello.
Nice.
Where but it's not just a place to go bang hookers.
Yeah.
It's all, like, if you have the dough, you could pay to watch a werewolf tear apart a human.
Okay.
So
weird.
Yeah, super weird.
I mean,
and
I'm a pole dancer. I don't judge.
But the whole thing ended up turning into an allegory for you can get away with anything if you have enough money.
I like that.
And then, but the end is, but you still know you've done it.
So is it a song? Sorry?
It's a song now. Yeah.
Oh.
And it was this one.
Yeah,
all it was say la sleaze. And I was
line.
Like, I don't know what the fuck that means.
In my brain, I can think about that and picture it in like shitty neon flickering.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
100%.
That's the sign outside the door.
Yep.
With a really shady looking doorman.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it turned into basically, you know what a barker is?
Yep.
Okay, so it's the song is from the perspective of the barker.
Like a carny barker?
Yep, exactly.
Am I going to put this on the internet right now? That I was a carny for...
No way!
Yeah, I was a carny for about a year and a half when I was older teenager.
Do you have small hands and smell like cabbage?
I do have small hands, but I do not smell like cabbage. But they are abnormally small. Like, it's actually a thing.
I'm so sorry. That's a really old Austin Powers reference.
No, I get it.
Okay.
Yep. No, it's been a question I've been asked more than once. I have written a carny poem, but that's in my first collection. You'll have to check that out.
Okay, cool.
I'm probably going to self-publish that one, but
nice.
Yeah.
That one's not a freebie.
No.
So
I didn't actually bring it, so no.
That's so funny, but yeah, so it's now from the perspective of a barker trying to call people into.
I need to see this or hear this song.
I'll show you what I got later if you want.
Okay, I want.
The lyric is fucking weird, dude.
No,
it's
good.
Bizarre. But anyway, so I guess I got two tunes I got to show you. We got one more, yeah?
Yeah. So this is the one that needs a little bit of context, and it's a little bit personal. So over the summer, through a couple of very dramatic Sean moments, we learned that my husband has epilepsy. He was diagnosed officially in the fall after a couple of scary moments. And in that process, obviously, I am Dr. Google like nobody's business and have read so much now about epilepsy. And he was having what he thought was panic attacks for about 10 years. And it turns out that those were actually seizures, what's called a focal aware seizure. 1 in 26 people is diagnosed with epilepsy in their lifetime. So that is something people need to know about. So that's my plug for that.
That is way more common than I expected.
Right? And a lot of the time, seizures don't look like you think. Like you think, shaking and quaking and falling on the floor and all of that stuff. They don't, they can manifest in so many different ways. Sean did the shuck and jive or whatever, but that was helpful in diagnosing him, so that was good. But so this poem I wrote sort of about that, and it's also included in the new collection because it's one of those really like world-altering events that kind of happened over the summer. And
sure.
So this one's really personal, but he gave me permission to read it as I was leaving. I was like, I'm gonna read that one, okay? Love you. So I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
And then you can ask me all of your epilepsy questions you
sure.
possibly have, which you don't need to.
Okay.
I'm no expert. This one's called The Epilepsy Elephant in the Room, which is an inside joke that I'm not going to explain, but that's fine. I stopped writing poetry the moment you stepped onto your desk, before the hospital red zone, intubated and sedated for airway safety. When I started to listen for crashes and bangs from below, I suddenly didn't know when today would stop again. Replaced by calls to 911, a stretcher in the sun, carrying your shoes so you'd have them when you were discharged. I couldn't imagine reading it to you at your bedside in the ICU, where you said the curtains were weird, the doctor was silver, the pink nurses charged with your care uncaring. When the blood pressure monitor scraped the shit out of your arm, where poetry would be drowned out by the IV alarm of empty fluid bags. I stopped when I started counting your breaths, monitoring your words instead of mine in case they landed jumbled like boggle after the shake or not at all. When I started Googling tonic-clonic focal impaired onset and the side effects of lamotrigine. But I should have seen you didn't need me to count, monitor, or listen, or fear the next episode. You needed me to keep being me, to write poetry, so you could keep being you, for both of us. Done. Breathe. Sometimes I forget to breathe when I'm reading poetry, so.
That was really heavy duty.
It was a heavy summer.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
But we've 4 months from anything medically related episodes happening. This is in the 10 years that he's been having quote unquote panic attacks, that 4 months has never passed without a series of them. So.
Wow.
It's a big deal. It was a hard way to learn, but it was necessary, and his quality of life is going to be much improved because of this. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason that hits so hard is I know what your house looks like.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, I've known you guys for it's got to be like 10 years.
Gotta be close. Almost as long as I've known Sean.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of years after that. So maybe like 8, say.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't matter. There's no test.
Yeah, well, shoot. I started hanging out with Sean when I was 29. 29.
Yeah.
So that was 10 years ago that I started hanging out with Sean.
Okay.
So I guess probably...
Oh, yeah, I've known Sean longer than that. Okay, sorry.
So
I've been with Sean for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've probably known you for about...
Same.
Eight or 9 anyway.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you know what our house looks like.
I know what your house. So like just this thinking about the stretcher and you carrying his shoes. It's like, and I can think of the two different doors that you would have had to have gone through to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude,
pretty crazy.
That is
pretty crazy summer.
Really wild.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he's doing better.
Yeah, same. It's and it was life changing in a good way also, because of the the quality of life going forward will be that much better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Woof.
Yeah.
I mean,
so if
I'm
you
glad.
think weird shit's happening, talk to your doctor.
Yeah, I have heard it described to me. Some people having an experience with their seizure feels like they're going through deja vu.
That is a very common neurological effect that happens. Sometimes it happens as part of an aura, which is like a migraine aura. It's a precursor to a seizure very often. But it's definitely... Sean doesn't remember any of his seizures, or the big ones anyways, that landed him in the hospital, the 2. But the focal aware seizures that he's been having for years, thinking they were panic attacks, almost always came with that deja vu effect, where he'd start saying something along the lines of, this has happened before, or this happened when I was, or some kind of like reference to the past or something that had happened before. And he didn't always remember, saying those things afterwards. And that's why I was always like, these don't seem like panic attacks. Like they seem really odd. But that deja vu feeling apparently is really, really common. So if you're having things that you think are kind of weird with your panic attacks, or if they're really, really short, get checked out. Ask about that epilepsy, because it could be.
That is 1 in 26 is so much higher than I expected.
I know. I did not expect, and just like that, obviously the more you know about that stuff, the more you think, how come people don't know how to handle a seizure? How can people think that this only happens to random people, like not anybody I would know or whatever, right? Like, and then so many people have come up to us since that has happened to say, I used to get seizures, or my partner did, or my brother did, or whatever. And yeah, a lot of people have come out the other side of it saying, I don't even take medication anymore. For right now, Sean's on medication and it's effective, and we're not going to take any risks of trying to go without, because it was a pretty scary time. But so interesting summer. Yeah.
Well,
way to end this on a down note. But no, it's good. We're happy things are better, and he's got so much more space in his life now to not be, he's not anticipating panic attacks. He's not worried about the next one happening. He's fully able to just live his life and not have those effects impact, the quality. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Not to detract from the seriousness of that and how good it is that things are moving in the right direction, but that is exceptionally well written.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's my favorite one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't shared it with anyone else. Like, I've shared it with Sean and maybe the kids, but I haven't done it in public or anything like that. I might at some point. But
I get it. That's one that
there's a lot of inside jokes in it too, so it's hard to say, just because like he did see weird shit and stuff when he was under sedation or coming out of sedation.
Yeah.
Because he was in the ICU for like 3 days, or 4 days. So
yeah, that was scary.
It was a lot, but we're good.
But
hey, and it makes for good poetry fodder. Thanks.
If you don't mind me saying, it's very visual, which I like a lot. I love visual writing. I like being able to see the story happen. But something that I find with a lot of people is when they lean too heavily into trying to describe the atmosphere that they're in, they tend to neglect the emotional side.
Okay.
This is not light on that.
No.
Which is important. I really like, again, I like your rhyme scheme.
Yes.
Where when it happens and then you depart from it, it's like, here's a little taste, here's a little taste, here's a little taste.
And I'm noticing now that I use it a lot more than I actually thought. so when you were like, no, you don't rhyme, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't rhyme very often. Actually.
Well, it's dispersed.
Yeah.
In a way that makes it not feel really overused, which I appreciate, because either people will do it where it's like at the end of every phrase it's a heavy rhyme and you're like, oh, come on, please don't do that. You have a lot of interior rhyme work, which I think is cool. Like either words with very close proximity are rhyming, or it's like from this line, the fourth word of this line is going to rhyme with the fourth word of the next line, but there's still like maybe 3 or 4 more words after that.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to pay attention, which is I like.
I'm gonna use that from now on. Yeah, no, I'm really decent with the interior line work.
Yeah, it's
rhyme work, interior rhyme work.
Well, that too. No, and I don't know. I also like the fact that you use the technical terms for it. I love when people do that kind of shit. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that there is a real beauty in simplicity, but I also think that sometimes it's cool to use a $3 word every once in a while, and you're like, oh damn, I gotta look up what that means. That's how I learn new shit, and I like that. So, not that I didn't like all the other stuff, but and also it could just be that I have maybe more of an emotional tie to that one specifically. Like that one feels like I'm a little bit in on the story.
You were one of the ones getting regular updates, right?
Yes, so, I was. Yeah. It's like, we're just across the street. If you need anything, I'll make you a casserole.
Chris Collins was so mad that I wouldn't let him bring me food. He was so mad. I was like, I'm not eating right now.
Yeah. It's like, no, don't bring us food, please. Like, okay, I won't.
Well, I appreciate all of that feedback for sure.
Yeah, no, it's really good stuff, dude. And it's what I think is cool too is that I can tell that one's more recent. There's a progression in the confidence in your work.
Okay.
I think anyway. Out of those 4.
It did actually go from oldest to newest, I think. So, yeah.
You can or at least I can hear it.
Yeah.
Which is cool because it's like, all right, neat. This is like, you can see where it's starting. And it's almost like when a band puts out their first album and you're like, oh, cool. Yeah. And then you hear the next record, you're like, oh, I see where you're going. Yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. And, just kind of as you learn more and more, you get, your chops.
I know I'm at a point like now where I'm like, do I want to publish this first one? But I'm going to because you
just got to put it out. Even if it's just
to give to my like twice down the road, thrice grandchildren. You know what I mean? Like whatever, great, whatever. Maybe somebody will read
it. Put it out, dude. Just put it out because like
if they live that long, if the world's alive that long. Sorry, kids.
Like I don't know. What's the point in making art for no one?
Like, I see the inherent catharsis that comes along with that.
Okay, yeah.
But I was the guy on the other end of the catharsis or cathartic art that's saying, I know how that feels. Oh my God, you understand me. Oh my God, I'm not by myself.
Yes.
And that's, if I can do that, that's cheesy, but if I can do that for one person, then.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Happy.
Yeah. There are so many books or movies or albums or poems that I've read or watched or ingested somehow. And you go, okay, I can do today.
Yeah.
I can because
I just gave me goosebumps, Dawson. That's exactly how I felt on occasion, right?
Right.
I think that might be universal.
Yeah. Oh, I'm yeah.
Yeah. But you have to say those things out loud sometimes.
Of course. Yes. Like, yes, biodiversity is real. We're all very unique, but we're also all just water balloons full of blood made out of meat. Meat bags. Yeah. We're like weirdly cognizant meat bags. Yeah. So we're not that. I mean, yes, we're all special, but we're the same thing. Like, if we weren't, we wouldn't be able to make more of us.
It's true.
There's a reason there aren't more chimeras in the world.
There's a very big reason, probably.
Yeah. I mean,
I saw that episode or two of Supernatural as well.
Yeah, right.
There was at least one.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was a CSI episode about that.
About chimeras?
Somebody with, I think it was like a DNA thing. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Oh, neat.
I'm like dating myself back to early 2000s CSI. So
yeah.
Back in those days.
I remember the early stuff, but then it became, I think it's murder. And you're like, okay, cool. I get it.
Yeah.
Which is so silly because I love every week there's a new monster on X-Files or whatever, and I didn't care. Nope. It's like, show me another monster. And then no one's going to believe you at the end, and I'm here for every episode.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but when it was real or like based in reality, I'm like,
not so fun.
Lame.
We all have our comforts.
Yeah, absolutely. But huge congrats on the publication, dude. That's so cool. And I by the time this comes out, I'm hoping that you'll have your poetry jams.
Yes, I'm actually hoping to start in February. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to not try to put pressure on myself to do it this month.
For sure.
It's going to be a fairly loosely organized thing, and it's not going to be too much like high pressure or anything. But
yeah. Like the blues jams.
Yeah.
Pretty loose.
Just show up, put your name on a list, and we'll get you up there with
Yeah.
In some kind of order.
Something will happen someday.
Will happen. Words will come out.
Yeah.
Or not. That's happened.
I'm sure people freeze all the time.
Yep.
Yep.
Hasn't happened yet. I've been deathly afraid, but it hasn't happened yet. So, yeah. So, I'm hoping to start that in February. I'm hoping that I've got a little bit of stuff that I'm waiting on decision-wise to self-publish my first collection. And I'm hoping that will come out this year as well. So, I thought 42 was going to be the meaning of life year for me and publishing stuff, but it might be 43, and that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? 42 was only the answer. They didn't have the right question. So
right.
I wouldn't sweat it too much.
I won't.
I have a funny story about that. I'll tell you about it off
right.
mic. All right. Thank you so much for doing this, dude. This was a real blast. When you self-publish, or the next time you've got more stuff coming out, you should come back and do it again.
Maybe I will.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody. That was fun, dude.
That was fun.